Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The Lion's Den, a podcast brought to you by Red Lion Controls. I'm your host Tyler Kern. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the show. Today we are talking about the PM50 and we're going to be talking about this from a consumer perspective. And so if you are a customer, if you have a PM50 in your facility, here are the things that you need to know. And joining me today to talk about all of these things that you need to know, the features, the benefits, all of that, is Jeff Thornton. He's a product manager at Red Lion Controls. Jeff, welcome to another episode of the show. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me in.
Excellent. Well, Jeff, give us a little bit of your background, because I know that you've been at Red Lion for quite a while at this point, and you've done just about everything there is to do. So tell us a little bit more about your history at Red Lion.
So I've been with Red Lion for 45 years. I joined right out of high school in production, worked my way through Red Lion. I did shipping and receiving, tech support. I've also done inside sales manager, and finally now as a product manager. And I think I found a home. I really like doing the product management, dealing with customers and products, and it's been a lot of fun. My customers range from internal customers to external customers, so we're responsible kind of from cradle to grave, if you will, for products, and it's just been a good ride. I really enjoy what I'm doing now.
Excellent stuff. So if there's an expert on Red Lion Controls, it's Jeff, and we got him here for this episode of the show, so we're lucky here today. But Jeff, talk to us a little bit more. You know, data is obviously a really important thing these days. It's something that everybody needs and everybody wants when it comes to optimizing what the plant floor looks like. So talk to us about some of the data issues that you're noticing with customers that they're having on the plant floor these days.
So most of the plant floors, the look of the plant floors right now, if you have new equipment that comes in, it usually has communications on it, because everybody's talking about data. Yeah. They need data for scheduling, they need data for process improvements and all that stuff. But typically, if you're in a plant similar to Red Lion Controls that's been developed over the last 40 years, there's older pieces of equipment, or there's panel meters that are installed that they do not offer communication. And when you look at an entire view of your plant floor, you're missing some elements. And that's really where we see the need for the PM50, is to be able to go in and replace those old panel meters that just offered a display and allow that customer to pull that data through communications back to be used so they can increase the view of their plant floor.
So the ultimate goal and purpose of a product like the PM50 would be to help kind of close that communication gap, especially for stranded assets that might be somewhere else in the plant floor. Would you say that that's accurate?
That is extremely accurate. Again, there's traditional panel meters that have been put there so an operator could read a value.
Sure.
But that value now has value to the plant if they know that, for instance, it's a count, it's a conveyor speed, it's a temperature, whatever it is. That's valuable information that they don't have now. Being able to replace that meter and actually address that data gap at the same time is really the home run for manufacturers and factory floors.
So tell us about the connectivity options then. You know, if data is going to be communicated, how does the PM50, how is it able to communicate this data?
So we offer various communications for the product. There is Modbus communication, these are wired, Modbus communication, RS-232 and Ethernet, okay? But the real home run of the product is the ability to replace a panel meter and use Wi-Fi communication to bring that data out. That's really where it's at. The reason for that is typically your panel meter's not connected because you have to run wires to it. And that's a big ask out of the maintenance department. You figure each location, figured out maybe roughly 2 hours to get something wired. You got 10 panel meters out there. All of a sudden you've got a half a week's worth of work for a maintenance guy who doesn't have time to do that. No. So being able to just turn on the Wi-Fi after you've installed a PM50, use the plant network to leverage that communication, and now you can gather that information without all of that overhead.
Huge. Just
absolutely.
What an innovation. That's incredible. And so let's talk a little bit more then about some of the other features. We haven't talked about the display yet. Talk to me about the display and how it maybe differs from other displays that you've seen on panel meters in the past.
Well, traditional panel meters are a number typically, right? And that's what you get. With the graphical display, which we borrowed from our HMI group, you get more intuitive displays. Think about the gas gauge on your car. One glimpse at the gas gauge, you know exactly what to do.
100%.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of the technology that we wanted to build into the display, allowing the operator the ability to make quick decisions and provide them more screens, more data, so that they can make better decisions as they run their machines.
Excellent.
So that's kind of the idea behind the displays.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we should also mention that the PM50 can, connect and interact via an app, right? So there's smart device capabilities along with this, right?
Absolutely. So another huge advantage is being able to connect to smart devices. And that is making its way on the plant floor right now. The capability, I don't know, you look at my son, I mean, pretty much he does everything one-handed, right? Because you always have a cell phone or tablet in his hand. That's exactly what's going to happen on the plant floor. The ability to monitor a machine and not necessarily stand in front of it. They can actually go out and do some other work, be notified when the machine has a problem. They can go back to the machine, get it back online, and making money for the plant. Reducing downtime is what it's all about.
Right.
So that smart device connectivity is going to be huge on the plant floor.
That's an excellent point, and I think a great thing to bring up. And the other thing is that when it comes to different devices, like you said, reducing downtime is an important thing. But talk to me about ease of installation, because that's something that to me, I would want to know that, hey, can I get this up and running quickly? How easy is this to install? How easy is this to get going, right?
Absolutely. So we wanted to make sure that we approached the market so that you didn't necessarily need a systems integrator or a plant engineer to install this. So with the framework that we built this whole product around is really kind of the smartphone or the smart tablet. So it programs very similar to all of those devices. So it's common. People are comfortable in that programming environment. So we've developed an app, so that'll allow you to program the device or even monitor the device once you have it programmed. So you can do that. You can also do a web browser, or again, if you're old-fashioned like me, you can poke the buttons and get the program into the meter that way.
I love it. I love it. Well, one of the other questions that people might have is whether or not this only applies to the plant floor, or does it have other application, other settings that it can?
No, that's a great question. Yeah. Panel meters in general are a universal product. You can find them everywhere. And again, it's just not plant floors that need data. Everybody's claiming data because the more data that they have, the more idea of the process, whether it is a factory floor, whether it's a water wastewater treatment, whether it's one of the other ones, packaging, whatever it might be. It pretty much fits anywhere. Yeah. So it's not just limited to plant floor or factories.
Excellent, excellent stuff. And I think before we wrap up, it's important to kind of reiterate something that we've talked about throughout this podcast and throughout this conversation, but that is the importance of data, especially nowadays. So, as we begin to wrap up, tell us a little bit more about the importance of data and why this is such a vital thing for plants and for facilities these days.
So the better view they get on the plant floor, the better the data they have, the better decisions they can make. So for instance, like if I have machine number 7 and I know that's wrapping up in an hour and I have a customer calling saying I need a hot order out, if I have the data, I can look at machine 7 and I know it's done in an hour. Right. So I can tell the customer, I'll put your order on that machine and I'll have it out by the end of the day. Without data, you can't make that decision. Same thing if you were comparing machines for process improvement. We have 3 of the identical same machines, but unfortunately, one of them always seems to be lagging behind. So we do a little research on it and we find out that has an older motor on it. Very quick process improvement. How much does the motor cost? How much more are we going to get in production out of that machine if we replace that motor? You put those details together and now you have a plan of attack.
Data gives you transparency, visibility, all of those sorts of things that you need in a facility to optimize to make sure that things are running at peak efficiency.
Absolutely.
It's great stuff. Jeff Thornton, product manager at Red Lion Controls. Jeff, where can people go if they want to learn more information about Red Lion and ask questions and reach out to somebody like you?
Well, all of the information is on the website, so feel free to go to redlioncontrols.net for the website. Our tech support team is fully trained, or if you got a question you want answered, feel free to give me a call.
There you go. Give Jeff a call. Redlion.net. Redlion.net is the URL that you want to visit. If you want to go and you want to learn more, if you want to reach out and ask questions, get in touch with someone like Jeff to learn more about the PM50 and to learn more about the benefits that it can provide. Redlion.net is the place to go. Jeff, thanks again so much for joining us for another episode of the show.
Thanks, been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure. And everyone, thank you for tuning into another episode of The Lion's Den, a podcast brought to you by Red Lion Controls. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google to stay up to date with the latest episodes and the latest insights like what you heard here from Jeff. And like I said, we'll be back soon with new episodes of the show. But for this one, for Jeff Thornton, I'm Tyler Kern. We'll talk to you again soon.